I love the training program. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot from people in my my cohort of students I was with. There was about 50 of us. A lot of them were from industry, big tech industry folks and consulting industry. So it was really nice to learn a lot of business skills because sadly, a lot of physicians, we don't learn a lot of business skills in medical school. And so I was pretty naive about business, sales, marketing, all those type of things. So I was very
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to 7 and 8 figures without burning out. Before Purple Circle, I started and scaled several 7 and 8 figure career coaching businesses myself and consulted with 2 career coaching businesses that are now doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or just building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Career Coaching Secrets podcast. Today, my guest is Dr. Heath Jolliff, a seasoned physician turned executive coach who's on a mission to help healthcare professionals navigate burnout and find fulfilling paths beyond traditional clinical roles. With over 30 years in medicine and personal experience in career transition, Dr. Jolliff brings a unique blend of insight, empathy, and strategy to his coaching. It's my pleasure to have you on the show. Welcome to the podcast, Heath.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Tell me a little bit more about what inspired you to become a career coach and like what inspired you to become a career coach in a specific niche, working with physicians especially.
So I've been a physician for over 3 decades, and I was at a conference 11 years ago. And I remember specifically the keynote speaker came out, and she happened to be a coach that worked for the physicians. And I really had no idea what coaches did. And at the end of her lecture, I walked up to her and I said, I'm still not quite sure what a coach is or what you do, but I feel like I need to talk to you more. I was at the time, I was really interested in medicine. I'd gone through burnout myself, but I had always had more interests beyond clinical medicine. And so we started working together and looking at all kinds of different things, building up my leadership skills and looking at potential different jobs outside of clinical medicine. That went on for about 2 years, and I had looked at everything from government jobs to industry to you name it, and nothing ever quite felt right to me. And then probably towards the end of our time together, she said, "May I give you some advice?" And I said, "Sure." And she said, "I think you should become a coach." And I just thought, well, gosh, I don't know anything about this. How can I do it? And she goes, "Sure you do. You've been doing this working with me for over a year, and you can seek training in that." And so that's when I decided that that was something that I was very interested in. Unfortunately, I delayed that for a couple more years. I was a busy clinician and a program director teaching young physicians, and so finally, when I decided that I was going to get serious about this, I started looking at programs to become a coach.
hmm And is there a specific program that you started, like ICF or something specific?
Yeah, I wanted a program that I could get certified through ICF, and I found a program called the Center for Executive Coaching, and I enrolled in their program. It was very flexible. It was geared toward people who were pretty much full-time in their work, but also were going to be a coach, and it allowed me to have that flexibility that I could train and learn how to be a coach while I was still having a busy clinical schedule and an academic schedule.
So at the time when you started it, you were doing you were still working fully on your clinic, and then you started your training as a coach, right?
Yeah, that's correct. I was doing a full clinical schedule, and then I was a program director in an emergency medicine residency program where I was teaching young physicians how to become seasoned and certified physicians. And so it was a pretty busy time in my life.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And so even today, do you just do coaching, or is it a mixture of you working on your clinic as well?
So I've cut my clinic time down to about 20%, which still is quite a few hours, but I enjoy it. So I've managed to do that. And then the rest of the time I do coaching and consulting.
Mm-hmm. How does the journey look like from the moment you started your coaching business to where you are at today? So it's been more than 5 years, almost 6 years right now. How does that journey look like?
Yeah, I love the training program. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot from people in my cohort of students that I was with. There was about 50 of us. A lot of them were from industry, big tech industry folks and consulting industry. So it was really nice to learn a lot of business skills because sadly, a lot of physicians, we don't learn a lot of business skills in medical school. And so I was pretty naive about business, sales, marketing, all those type of things. So I was very attuned to becoming a coach. What I didn't know so much about is how to run my own business. I had a small consulting business. I didn't have to do a lot of marketing there, but in coaching, I realized that you had to market yourself to get out there in front of people so they even knew about you. And I was pretty lost when I first started out on that.
Hmm. And when it comes to your target audience, apart from physicians, um, um, is it um, is it more than that? Is it healthcare professionals? Is there a specific demographic? Maybe people that are early on their career, later on in their career. Um, what is specific like the audience that you typically like to work with?
Yeah. So I'm an emergency medicine physician, and I thought that most of my clients would be from emergency medicine, and that's been overall true. I think just because that's what I do. There's a lot of burnout in emergency medicine. We're always ranked as one of the top specialties for burnout, and people are always looking at doing something different. But I soon found that I figured it'd be middle career people looking to transition. But I have clients that are medical students, residents in training, early career, mid career, late career, even people that, they're going to retire, but they want to keep busy and do something else. And how do they leave their legacy behind and that type of thing. So, and then a couple years ago, I started picking up other healthcare professionals besides just physicians. I have clients that are physician's assistants and nurse practitioners and things like that. And this year, I've started coaching people that are in healthcare industries, but are not actually healthcare professionals that, as far as clinicians are concerned.
What does that mean? So they're not healthcare professionals, but what sort of jobs would they?
Yeah, these are people that are in supportive roles in healthcare, insurance companies, billing companies, those type of things. And they're people that, fortunately, in their industry that they're in, they have access to mentoring and coaching, and their companies will pay for that. So that's been really nice to work with folks like that also.
I see, great. And so far, you did mention this at the beginning that when you started on, you had to learn kind of like to market yourself. So my next question is, where do you find your clients, and how does marketing look like for you right now?
Yeah. It's evolved a lot over the years. I find a lot of clients when I ask, "Where'd you find me?" It'll be, "Well, I Googled for a coach, and you happen to be on there." And but LinkedIn is a big thing for me also. But I also do speaking. I probably speak professionally at least once a month, and I get a lot of clients from speaking engagements also from around the country. I was just in Vancouver, Canada, just 2 weeks ago, and it's really nice to get out and actually meet people and to find out a little bit more about them, and they get to know you a little bit and decide that they might want to work with you.
Oh, apart from the three, so like speaking events, or people finding you on Google or LinkedIn, which one would you say is like the most successful so far? The one that comes up the most?
I think it's speaking engagements. And I think that's just because people get to know you. And a lot of times after you get off stage and you walk to the back of the room, people follow you out in the hallway and they want to get to know you and talk to you about their story and things like that, which I really enjoy, especially with all the years that we were just doing everything by Zoom. It's really nice to meet people in person again.
Cool, yeah. And is there any specific events that you like to join that kind of help you the most in marketing yourself?
Yeah, usually they're conferences for physicians, and I usually go outside of clinical medicine and I talk about kind of what's next in your career, always having a plan because we always have plans A, B, C, D, all the way down the line for our patients. If something is, in our workup for patients, we always have something to try, something to do differently. But I find a lot of physicians haven't done that with their career. They have one thing in mind, and maybe something happens, a health problem. Maybe they get fired, maybe they get bored, maybe they get burned out, those type of things. And then you say, well, what's next for you? And then the silence comes in because they haven't really thought about that. So it's one of the things I like to lecture on with physicians is what's next in your career? What next steps have you thought about, and where would you like to go at different parts of your career?
Cool. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And it also makes sense why this is the main way that you generate leads on, especially the fact that they get to meet you in person builds a lot of that trust as well. Um, when it comes to next question is about the future. Do you have any goals that you're working towards in the next 1 to 3 years in regards to your coaching business?
Yeah, it's been really fun to build the business, and it's gotten to the point where now I have a waiting list of clients. And so I'm wanting to bring on another coach, and I have somebody that I'm working with right now that we're talking about bringing that on. He has a completely different way of coaching than I do. He's younger than me also. And I think that'll be a great thing to bring a second person on to just have a different perspective on the coaching environment. We might each work with the same client a little bit, or he might have his own clients and I might have my own clients, but that's where I'd like to go next in building up the business.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you'd say right now um, um, you are at a point that, let's say, leads are coming in constantly. Next step is to make sure that you can service more clients because there's also like a limit to how many people you can help on personally. So I really like that. So the next phase of your scaling is having another coach potentially, and then later on maybe another coach again, like two coaches, three coaches, and continuing to scale. Is that something that you see in the future, like growing even more than just having another coach?
Yeah, I'm going to have to see how it goes. And then I think the other thing that I've thought about but haven't implemented yet is just doing some group coaching so I can work with more people at the same time. I think that'd be a lot of fun because I learn from my clients all the time. And I think it'd be nice to be in an environment in a group setting where people can learn from each other and I can learn from them also.
Cool, yeah, that's also another good idea. I've actually interviewed quite a few coaches that only do group coaching, and yeah, it has been, I think, the easiest model to scale on for them. Um, but I've also had quite a few coaches that have done one-on-one coaching and then added the group coaching as extra offer in their business. Um, when it comes to investments in your coaching business, thinking investments that had the highest return for you, is there any coaching programs, masterminds, or communities that you have found most valuable in that regard?
Yeah. Probably the best thing I did is when I first got out, I hired a business coach because I knew that I needed another coach, but I needed someone to help me with business. So that was the first thing. So I hired a business coach that helped me a lot to understand sales and marketing, how to run a business, because a lot of times I think coaches, we think we're just going to coach people and people are just going to come to us, and you realize that a lot of what you do is sales and marketing, even though a lot of us, don't necessarily like to do that initially until you learn how to do it. And then I took a 10-week course called the Creator Accelerator, done by a gentleman in the UK. And it was a whole program on how to market yourself better and understand LinkedIn, the algorithm, how to post, what to do on there, and that's been very helpful.
And just curious, how much would was that, let's say, the business coach and the course for anyone who's like thinking of investing in these sort of courses or coaches?
Yeah. My business coach was probably, so she was in Canada, so I benefited from the exchange rate difference between the US and Canada. And that was probably about $7,500 to start out with that. And then the course that I was talking about doing for 10 weeks, that was about $5,000 also.
Oh, okay, cool. That makes a lot of sense. So, um, and you'd say that throughout the whole investments, these are actually the ones that have moved the needle for you mostly.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, is there something that you wish you had known when you first started scaling your coaching business that are like an unexpected lesson learned?
Yeah, Yeah, it's funny because I've met a lot of coaches while I'm coaching also, and I always say, "So, did you get a lot of training on sales and marketing?" And the answer usually is no in coaching programs. The only people, like one gentleman I work with, he's done sales his whole life, and he's also a coach. So for him, it was very easy. But I wish I would have known early on how much time and investment there would be of time and energy into sales and marketing. Because you spend all the time learning how to coach and working with folks and those type of things, but then you realize that you have to get out in front of an audience and you have to establish an audience and then be able to scale your business. And that's the thing I wish I would have known early on, because it took me probably a little over a year and a half, I'd say maybe close to 2 years even before I hired a business coach. And I wish I would have thought of that initially, right when I was in my training program.
And do you see a challenge when it comes to um, right now? Obviously, the one thing that you're working on is bringing in another person to help you out on the coaching side. But when it comes to, let's say, sales, and you mentioned the challenges on marketing as well. When it comes to sales, do you see a challenge there as well, or you often find that people generally trust you because most of them get to meet you in person, so it's not really a sales transaction, it's more of like starting an engagement together. Do you see sales as a challenge too?
Yeah, I think sales was a challenge because initially I had the wrong attitude toward it. I always said I don't like to be sold to. I'm one of these people. I go into a store, I buy something, I get out. We all have the feeling of going and buying a car, which I don't know anybody who enjoys that. And so I kind of felt like that as like I hate being sold to, so I don't want to sell to other people. But you start thinking about what you're doing is offering a solution to people's problems, and it becomes an investment instead of a sale. And I thought about that even with my own coaches. It's like I've had a coach every year for the last 11 years. And the question is, why do I do that? Why find it's a good investment for me to have my own coach? And so I started turning that around with other people, and it's just having a conversation with them about, learning about them. What is their problem, and can I help you? And so it's not so much as a sale as it is just offering to help someone.
Yeah, totally. Um, and so this seems like it was a challenge maybe early on, and right now it's no longer a challenge when it comes to sales. And marketing also seems to be in a healthy position right now with these live events. So right now, what would you say is currently the biggest challenge? Is it maybe just your capacity since you're thinking about hiring, or is it more than that?
It's capacity, but also it's very interesting to see in business. It usually seems to be towards the end of the year. I have to realize that not a lot of people tend to sign up for coaching at the end of the year. It's the holidays, it's all those other things. People are thinking about that. So you have to plan for that because you might not have that income coming in towards the end of the year versus the beginning of the year. It's almost like people getting a gym membership at the beginning of the year because they want to improve and change their lives. And so everyone goes out in January and joins the gym and things like that. So I find that I get very busy at the beginning of the year, but towards mid-November through December, things kind of calm down a little bit. And that's something that, I had to plan for because initially I hadn't thought about that at all. And then over the years, I've just kind of learned that's the way it is. So you kind of have to, you may have a lot of income coming in each month, but you have to say, you know what, I may not get that income towards the end of the year. So I have to kind of spread it out a little bit better.
Hmm. I've actually had, I think, another coach that we talked about this as well. He was thinking of countering that by, um, so he was also seeing that issue. Mostly, he was seeing that during the summer period, so getting closer to summer, because a lot of people were not thinking of changing their careers in the summer. Most people are thinking about vacations. And one of the things that he mentioned he was working on is trying to offer to bring an offer that is kind of continuous payment. So let's say someone that joined into your program in October and is kind of like working with you, there is kind of like a subscription base. So even when they're going through December, let's say, that subscription continues. They're not going to pause it just because it's holidays. So that is kind of like one way he was thinking, but of course doesn't apply to every coaching business, but it could be something to consider. And yeah, we've all also in my consulting offer have had that issue when it comes to seasonality. Um, because for us, there were certain application timelines that people would get into companies like McKinsey, Bain, or BCG. Those timelines had the highest, um, like those were like the peak number of, right, would get a lot more clients around that time. And obviously for us also, during summer it would slowly slow down, and also for sure during December and getting closer to the holidays, it would slow down then as well. So yeah, we've seen that too with our coaching business. Um, so yeah, it's been great so far interviewing you. Is there any final advice you'd like to give to other career coaches who are looking to scale their impact? And when I say this is not a lot of coaches that I've had or that I have interviewed have come yet to the point that they're hiring another coach. So maybe your advice to where you got at that you got to this point now, maybe that could be helpful to them when they're thinking to scale their business. Is there any advice you'd like to share?
Yeah, I'm very lucky because it happens to be a friend of mine, and so I've known him very well personally and that type of thing, and we've worked together. He's helped me with some coaching projects. We actually have a conference that we attend every year, and he comes with me on that where I, kind of market myself. It's one of the things that I speak at, and so that's been really helpful. But I think it's, looking at, how do you know what someone else's style is and those type of things. So it might be, let's sit down and coach each other and see what that looks like so that I can see if this is going to be helpful for my clients. And what do you, we each have a thing that we're really good at, and we have some things that, might be a challenge for us. So finding a coach that can support the areas that you need support in for your clients and also support your strengths and things like that. And I think that's really helpful if you can find somebody that does that and really spend some time with them to figure out if that's somebody that can really help you and your clients and your business to grow.
Thank you so much, Heath. It's been a pleasure again having you on the podcast. For anyone who wants to connect with you and find you, they can find you on your LinkedIn at Dr. Heath Jolliff. They could also find you on your website, physiciancoachingsolutions.com. Is there any other way they could connect with you?
Those are the two most popular ones, so that'd be great.
All right. Thank you. And thank you for coming to the podcast. It's been a pleasure.
Great. Thank you very much.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This conversation was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to 7 and 8 figures without burning out. To learn more about Purple Circle, our community, and how we can help you grow your business, visit joinpurplecircle.com.